I just sit here, listen to you. That's all it's
Okay.
about. And of course, you have to
Okay.
talk about the law mom and what the law mom is all about. So
Sure. Okay.
please. Yes. So what do you want us to know about you?
Okay. So I am a recovering litigator, but very much so, trained and loving that space. So yeah, I'm known on LinkedIn as Law Mom, and my followers are known as baby lawyers. So uh, I basically identified a gap, a need for explaining legal concepts, and that has garnered a lot of attention, and there was a hunger. So as of today, there's a lot of followers, almost 6,000 followers. So I have that traction and that platform, and professionally, or not professionally, but um, my own personal, you can say, pursuit is in mediation. Um, I discovered it in about 3 years ago when I left my last law job, and it was a very eye-opening, very revolutionary for me, and very no turning back. So I'm very grateful to be on this platform because I get to share my few cents worth, what I feel about mediation. And of course, for me, as my topic today would suggest, that I'm very much, even in law practice, I'm very much focused now, not so much on the process, but on the people that we are trying to help. So,
Okay.
hence the title.
Can I put
And
it up? Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just put this up here
okay, all
just
right.
to, I mean,
Yeah.
this is
So,
what Lisa is talking about. So that part of it is, of course, one part. Of course, we have to talk about the conference for a minute. Let me
yeah.
just to say that yes, the World Mediators Conference last year, 93 sessions, 80 speakers. Here, I don't expect so many because I had just put it out saying, become a patron. I don't think
Uh,
people want to be patrons. So it's going to be maybe a small conference, but that's okay. I mean, that's part of it. I can't do too much about it. Look, finally, Lisa, I need to in some way get that funding because we have to create these
yes. Yeah.
mediation circles. There's so much work to do. My
Yeah.
time, my wife on the other side obviously has had her issues, so I had to do that. I mean, I did tell
Yeah.
people that
Yeah.
consider becoming one, but because there's so much to do. There's so much to do. But anyway, so yesterday we celebrated Ken's birthday. Didn't
Yes.
get too much time for the inaugural address as such. So that part didn't happen too much, but it was obviously wonderful. And of course, thank you for joining that. And it was nice. So this is what we're doing, people, the heart of the mediation process. So, yes.
Yes. I'll take it away.
Yep. Although I do normally put up my website saying mediatorvikram.com, you find information because there are more than 575 videos there. Now,
Yeah.
it's like an index. Think of it as an index. Now, how would you otherwise find what all really happens? Because there are lots of shows, different kinds of shows.
Yes.
I don't even know whether you know about that. Do you know about those shows? What shows I do? What events I've done? What is available on the
I
website?
haven't explored. I promise
Thank
I'm going to get into it. That's why I
you. You
signed up
think
as a Patreon, because I want to put my money where my mouth is.
you're going to take I'm going to take you through it right now. Right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so mediatorvikram.com, this is where you go.
Yeah.
And the way I put it out, it's very simple. It's like I call it my bulletin board kind of thing. So it's simple.
Yeah.
So of course, how to connect, lots of ways.
Yeah.
I do exist in a physical space. So this is that physical space that I exist on. So it's not just on the computer, a screen, and that's about it. World
Mm-hmm.
Mediation Circle, focus area. Let's create these circles. Of course, read about it. And this is where, like, this is the 2023 edutainment. I call it edutainment. And so what you'll find is what we've done in 2023 up till now. So this is what all has
Yeah.
happened already.
Yeah.
This is YouTube channel celebration, 2 years of that. Evolution of a Mediator, that's one series, which is what I started with Ken Cloke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell
I saw
people
that.
that, yeah, so tell people that, look, mediators are not made in 40-hour factories. They go through all this in life to be where they are. So evolution of mediator, in conversation with a beautiful mind, only to put a face or to mediators for people. Let them put a
Yeah.
face to mediators. Otherwise, what is, everyone knows, oh, lawyer, they connect with someone, doctor, maybe they
Yeah.
connect with someone. But when you say
Mm.
mediator, what comes in their mind? And I do not want lawyers to come in their mind. That's one thing for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, of course, both of us are lawyers. Let's put it out there. It's not that we are not.
Yeah.
Talking
I
books,
also
like
don't want a lawyer to come to mind for them.
so talking books, basically, like I told Ken yesterday, I don't read his books, but I had to talk about the books. So I started this show talking
Okay.
about books. So I started with him, of course, with his books. So let's just talk about the books, because I'm not going to be reading them. So we did two of talking books up till now. This is all 2023 up till now.
Yeah.
So those are these three books we've done. Then the symposium on language and mediation.
Yeah.
Then we celebrate, I mean, on this day that Russia invaded Ukraine, we had a little discussion. And of course, Ken joined that discussion, which is in the later part of the discussion. He doesn't start it off. He started off and then he comes in later.
Okay.
Then women and mediation, of course, the group, small group. Last year, I think there was I think what, 25 women from I think from 25 countries, maybe. I don't know how many last year that was that. This launch of the India Mediators Days. Similarly, we'll do a South Africa Mediators Day. We'll have to see on whose birthday we do it. We'll have to find out. Lisa, you're too young for us to celebrate it on your birthday. It has to be 70 plus, someone 70 plus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so because Mr. Panchu is, I mean,
Yeah,
very, very
I'm
senior.
aware of him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so very
Quite
senior
senior.
mediator. So that's the way we have to do it. Magic in Mediation is the book that Ken is writing. So
Yeah.
I started this series talking about it. So Ken did that, and then Mr. Panchu, he done it. Then we had the symposium on mediation legislation. The concept being that you click the schedule and the YouTube playlist. You can get
Okay.
on the schedule, you can get the links to individual sessions and the
Yeah.
details of the speaker. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's very simple. It's a spreadsheet which opens. It's like, I mean, very, very simple way. So Magic in Mediation, Michael Lang, also a wonderful person. His Magic in Mediation. Then this conference which is happening. So you get the participation information, playlist, schedule from here. So all this has happened up to this year. And of course, these are the various series. Evolution of a Media in Conversation, The Beautiful Mind, Forum series, lectures about mediation, talking books, Mediator experiences. Mediator reflects is this I mean, concept of reflective practice groups that
Reflector. Yeah. Yeah.
Michael Lang does. So he actually had one of his reflective practice groups coming in. First
Okay.
time any of his practice group sessions were on YouTube or in a way even recorded. So the
Nice.
first time that was done, because that's everyone experience what really happens there, and let them develop their own practice groups. But I'm going to have all this thing on creating for the people who are in the World Mediation Circle. We'll have
Yeah.
practice groups. And of course, Magic in Mediation, Mediation Visionaries. What I did was I put out a vision 2026. That's when
Yeah.
Ken becomes 85 and said, what is a
Hey.
vision for mediation and the evolution of mediators and mediation for that for
Yeah.
2026. So we had some discussions on that. Mediator lifestyle, there was only one episode of that. Let's let mediators take us through their lifestyle, whatever, some interesting thing that had to happen. And of course, this is for 2022. This is where all Ken has come in. I mean, I keep saying that look, Ken gives his time. He wants to share. Watch it. I mean, otherwise people don't get an opportunity to listen to him. People are charging for Ken to come in, and people pay
Yeah.
huge amounts of money to
I
do
will.
that.
Yeah. I will.
And you have
I
so
think
much. Yeah.
he's undervalued, I think. So
Because he himself wants to share with people, and I keep saying that, is free really valued? That's something that we have to.
yeah.
Okay, so this is
Yeah.
last year's 2022. Again, this is that Mediators conference. Click here, YouTube playlist and details. We have the symposium in Indigenous Peoples and Mediation, Heart, Soul, Spirituality and Mediation. This was International Women's Day, 25 women, 17 countries. Philosophy and mediation, colonization, decolonization and mediation. Of course, in conversation, then neutrality and mediation, which I keep telling people that this is something which by itself needs 40 hours of discussion. How do you say that you want to do a 40-hour thing? So Mediator experience is lots of. So similarly, some forum series, Mahatma Gandhi and mediation, Socrates and mediation, World Creativity Day, Ombuds, I had a lot of discussion on ombuds. What I'm trying to do is why we have to create an organizational mediator position kind of thing. Of course, outsourced. Let it be outsourced.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ombuds have a very wide role. So let's focus on the mediation part of it. So this is what it is. Okay, this one I have to show you. This one I have to show you. This is the first symposium, which was on mediation in our culture. Where is it gone? Yeah. Where is here? This one. So yesterday, Rafael Lobo came in only for 2 minutes. He designed this poster based on the
Okay.
original poster of Woodstock. He called it the Woodstock of mediation. This was like 97 speakers, 45 countries thing. So this was the first symposium. That was nice. Okay, of course, every other detail is there. That's Lisa. Now you know. Now you otherwise would have
No, I
never
know.
gone through it. Now you have lots of information, enough content. What you do is keep all this law mom activity out for 2 years. You will take 2 years to watch everything which is here.
No, definitely set. I'm back on the bandwagon now, so I'm gonna have time blocked out for
Perfect. So okay. So now it's
getting
you.
this on the road.
It's you and nothing else. And let's just please people
I hope
the heart.
I can share this thing without
Yeah.
any drama.
No problem at all.
Um.
No drama from my end.
Okay.
The thought behind the topic, everything. Of course, you're going to take us through all that.
Yeah. Okay, you seeing it?
It's coming up. It's coming up.
Okay.
But is bandwidth, internet bandwidth, a little bit of problem there? Is it slow?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bad weather's bad as well. So it's still loading or is it up?
Up. It's up. Conflict as
Okay.
depersonalization.
Okay. Cool.
But your electricity issues have been solved?
No.
No.
We are plunging ahead, making the best of it. Okay, I'm just putting it on full mode.
But otherwise, all your other issues of that person being arrested and all that was happening. All those.
There's too much. There's too much going on. But the good part is that our courts are not taking it lightly. So people are being hauled in and charged and exposed and all of those things. So that's been the encouraging. But as for the electricity,
there was that Indrani who's also from your area, and that time when those issues were happening, I mean, things were bad. You don't know. She was saying we don't know whether people are just going to enter our houses. What's going to happen? Those, I mean, there was writing.
The crime has gone up because of not having power, at night especially. So yeah, but
okay,
we are here now. Yeah,
we're up. You're up. Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so like I said in my intro, I'm the thing that changed me around or changed my focus even with court practice or with litigation is that we forget about the people. So for me, I really was enlightened by the whole, I won't say psychology of conflict, but the whole psychology of people that are involved in problem solving, right? Dispute resolution. So, and we don't want to take them through a process that is gonna, make them worse off. So where they might have their problem solved or they might have their money paid to them or whatever their claim is about, but at the end of the day, their relationship might not be the same. They might be in a worse off position with the other party. So I really took to mediation in that sense that it very much cares for the people that are involved, and it's very people centric. Obviously, there's been a lot of theory and a lot of fleshing out of the concept like neutrality and omnipartiality and all of those things. And I do think when I was becoming wary of becoming too theoretical, where I needed to actually start practicing what I was reading. So all of Ken's books and some of them and other authors, I was worried I was becoming a bit theoretical. So for me, I never want to lose sight of the people. as part of the mediation process. In fact, the heart or the nucleus of the mediation process. Because maybe, just maybe, the process has become a profession. So I think perhaps the process has become more exalted than the people that we're trying to serve through it. So that's the thrust behind my talk. So why do we mediate? Okay, we teach people to respect differences. Okay, make them face each other. I think that's the most important. The first achievement that a mediator can achieve is bringing to people who would have previously been back to back and maybe could not be in the same room, is to actually make them face each other. So that for me is big. And then, of course, to show people the validity of having another view. That's something that I practice daily, because often when you're involved in litigation, or even if you have an opinion, you reach an impasse inevitably because everyone is stuck. You're very adamant. And so sometimes I will mediate in that situation and say, look, it's valid for you to have your thing, and it's also valid for me to have my position. So it's to create that space for people to have differences or to have differing mindsets, right? And of course, bringing them together with their differences. And then I guess the core skill of mediation is, or the core personal quality that a mediator must have, is empathy, right? Where it's not just feeling sorry, but you actually put yourself in the other person, the party's shoes. And of course, curiosity, which is something, again, as a mediator, you need to show. And also to introduce these two skills or these two values to the people that you are trying to help. So you teach them how to empathize with each other's point of view, and also to be curious and to be investigative, to find out why we are the way we are, or why we have arrived at this impasse. So for me, obviously, the why is very important because, and of course, yes, you need to earn a living, etc. But, I think that you should really have a heart for, as you would say, call yourself a peacemaker. So a heart for peacemaking, a heart for bringing people together, making them face each other, and a heart to get them to see the validity of, yes, it is part of life to have different views, but that's okay. So I think if that drives why you mediate, then you do have people at the center of it all. So the objective of mediation obviously is resolution that is not imposed. Okay, so you become a joint problem solver. And I even use those words in a litigation sense, where you draw a client in. You are not the chief lawyer. You have all the answers. You actually draw the client into a joint problem solving process. So we don't want to impose a solution. We all want to be parties to the solution. So obviously the first objective is resolution. Elimination of issues in the sense that you're not sweeping them under the carpet, but you're being curious about them. You are putting them on the table. You are, as they say, reframing them or restating them, changing the language around a bit. And then the ethics of problem solving, which is, you get to flesh out, or you get to demonstrate, even to people, for them to take away, for them to practice in their own context. What are the ethics and what's the etiquette of resolving differences in real life, in everyday life? And ultimately, we must be equipping people to resolve. So whether it's a domestic issue, whether it's like you brought up the Ombud organizational mediator, whether it's an organizational problem, you don't want as a mediator to have people chronically coming to you because they don't know how to, or you have all of the answers, or you have the skills. So I think ultimately we need to equip people as well to solve their issues, solve their problems on any scale. And of course, the more peacemakers we create from the process, the better, right? So I've read books that, talk about the psychology of conflict. And for me, it really is the psychology of differences, okay? I think, and I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming slide, about where we create the conflict as another character. It almost becomes a third party, right? So I don't like to call it psychology of conflict, but we must understand that the problems that people have or the impasses that they reach are the result of deep set, valid personal differences. Okay, and again, curiosity will help you to understand what's going on in their thinking, why their psychology works in that way. And the psychology of conflict is essentially the psychology of personal differences. So I think keeping people at the heart of things is to understand that, yes, there's this thing called conflict and we're trying to understand it. But at the heart of that conflict are these people, and it's really the psychology of the people that we are helping that is what we need to understand. Conflict as depersonalization, it sounds like a heavy term there, but all it means is, in my opinion, conflict has been created as a third party. So when you say the conflicts or the psychology of conflict, I know you don't like the word, I think, if I remember right. But we must look at it as, yes, the conflict is there, but we shouldn't be referring to conflict. Maybe we call it problem, impasse, whatever, but I think it creates an unnecessary depersonalization where the conflict is like the elephant in the room, but we are trying to work at it via the parties. So I don't think we should be creating that third party, an unseen third party. I think, again, it's the people that are at the heart of it. So let's maybe call it another name, but we shouldn't be, I think, actively using the word conflict, problem, impasse, issues in the midst of the process, because I think that just takes away from the whole people part of it, right? So people or problem, I think if we don't have problems, if we had no people, there'd be no problems. So the problem doesn't exist objectively. It's because people are playing it out. Okay, it's something that arises because people, one or two or more people are interacting, and they reach a certain point where it's like, you have your position, I have my position. And again, psychology of the people. The focus of mediation should be understanding the people. Because you understand the people, you understand the problem. People first, problem second. As Ken says, I think go soft on the people and hard on the problem, right? So the problem is always there, but again, it's people, and of course, different cases or different, I think, groups of disputing parties, they might play out the same problem in a different way because people are uniquely constructed psychologically. So you're going to have to take each one, case by case or on its own merit, and understand what are the dynamics of that problem with this group versus maybe a group that you might have just dealt with. Okay. Problem analysis or conflict audit, that's something that is used in mediation circles, those terms. Again, the problem mustn't become the elephant in the room. So when we do the problem analysis, or we are, as a mediator, maybe in the pre-mediation meeting, we are trying to figure out what's going on. Again, we must take care not to analyze the problem, not to analyze the issues as removed from the people. So we must avoid theorizing the problem. Because I think that's where you can tend to lose sight of who it is you're actually meant to help. And the personal relationship between the parties should be the nucleus of your analysis. So yes, you'll have all of your mediation theory, your concepts, how do you apply the concepts? Okay, some apply, some don't. You're going to have all of that in your analysis, but at the end of the day, the problem analysis must include the people. So we don't theorize the problem and then using our mediation fanciful terms and then think about the people. We have to merge the two. Again, the following slides are just what I would call a discovery process. So I know we have that in legal circles. We make discovery before trial of all our documents. But I think without being a psychologist and without doing, maybe we can read some books on psychology, but I think we need to understand that, in all human relationships and interactions, there are driving factors that either fuel or mitigate the development of conflict and connectors that draw people together. So in a perfect world, obviously, we want everyone to be together and, playing nice and being friends. But we have to understand this dynamic of factors that can drive people apart and factors that can bring people together. And so keeping people at the heart of the mediation involves an active discovery of what each party's drivers and connections are. So what is it that pulls this party away from a solution and what it is that can pull them? What do they share maybe that can pull them closer to a solution? And of course, you work with what is peculiar to each party or relationship to facilitate a resolution. So it's this discovery process of, yes, you may have had a similar case last week with the same kind of maybe a parent-child relationship, but you're going to have to do a discovery process all over again because you need to figure out what it is that for this particular relationship drives the people apart and what it is that brings them together. And obviously to state it up front, to put that on the table so that it becomes a tool in the resolution process. Needs and interests. Again, this is something that comes up in negotiation, I think, interest-based negotiation. And for me, again, it's something that I practice a lot in my everyday communication, where you find out what's behind somebody's position. So whatever the impasse is about, you be a bit curious and you say, okay, what is activating them or what is triggering them to have what interest or what are they trying to protect by having that particular position? And so it's curiosity. So the roots of what pulls people apart and brings them together, in my humble opinion, are shared interests or shared needs and interests. So those are things that will bring people together. So in this discovery process, you're going to be looking at what do these people share in terms of needs and interests. And of course, you're also going to identify maybe the nucleus of the problem where unmet needs and unmet interests or disregarded interests are what divide people. And of course, this division is where the parties, why they've chosen to come to you or why they can't agree. So again, it's discovery, it's curiosity, it's saying, okay, I'm understanding now that these are the factors that pull this relationship together. And these are the factors that tend to drive it apart. So what is behind all of that? So what are the needs and interests? So you're going to say, what are your shared needs and interests? And of course, inevitably, and of course, you also will be questioning about this, is what are your unmet needs and interests? Okay, and then hone in on the problem and of course, facilitate the solution from that. So mutual identification of these needs and interests is part of the discovery process in a people-centered mediation. So again, as much as you are the mediator, and I'm not so much in favor of roles in mediation. I think it creates a bit of a unseen barrier, maybe a hierarchy. So mutual identification is something that everybody engages in. So yes, you will prompt them parties, you will give them questions, or you'll get them to think about something from the other party's point of view. But it must be a mutual identification. It's like, oh, yes, we have these shared needs, we have these shared interests. And then it'll come out as to what's being met or what's not being met and what's being not being shared that they would maybe like to be shared. And again, this is also part of that discovery process, which again keeps people in the center. Because you're saying, what's your you are saying that you have these shared needs and interests, and you're also telling me what are your unmet needs and interests, and you're going to get the other party to sort of empathize and see it from the person who's not being met, So it's a mutual identification and it's a mutual discovery that goes on. Beliefs, values, and attitudes, the roots of needs and interests, okay, are beliefs, okay, tenets, whether it's a religious thing, whether it's just philosophy, okay, people's needs for things and their interests are driven or underpinned by what they believe in, their values, okay, and of course those values can overlap with your beliefs in that maybe your faith might influence your values, and of course your general attitudes, which I also think can stem from your beliefs, like what you think about gender roles and things like that. So keeping people at the center of the resolution process also involves discovery of these underpinnings. So again, it's curiosity, you're taking it back. So you're saying, okay, needs and interests. Now, what underpins that need and interest? You're taking it back another step. And you're saying, okay, what are the beliefs, what are the values and attitudes that are important to each party in this mediation, that they find themselves entrenched, okay? So you're going to be trying yourself to understand, and of course, getting the other party or other parties to understand where you can say the aggrieved party is coming from. Okay, and of course, this has to be done in a non-stereotypical manner. So, you wouldn't say that, for example, if it's a conflict between a Hindu and a Muslim, you're going to say it's because of historical conflict and cultural, conflict in the world. And so you're going to look at beliefs, values, and attitudes, again, peculiar to your group of people. So your disputants, you're going to look at it objectively as possible, and obviously not stereotype to say, oh, all Indians have this attitude. So we'll just make that assumption and resolve on that basis. No, you've got to go, even if there are two Indian people or two whatever culture, you cannot stereotype their attitudes, their beliefs, their values. Again, you've got to go and discover all of these things. So again, it's keeping people at the center because it also it will show a respect for cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, etc. Shared history and future, categories of relationships exist. Those generic parent, child, employer, employee, supposed to be employee, and especially, if it's a hierarchical relationship, those relationships exist objectively. But again, when the parties come to a mediator or problem solver, that relationship has a peculiar history. So they're coming to you, as we say, with baggage, okay, which is how I would like to say shared history. So that's going to obviously involve a bit of investigation in order to see how they arrived. So it's not just investigating the incident that led, or that may have triggered their disagreement or their being at an impasse now, but you're also going to be curious as to what history have they shared in the past. Okay, be curious about the shared history, whether it's positive or negative, because you have to look, essentially, you got to look at the whole relationship. Okay, because your role is essentially going to be hopefully taking the relationship forward, and the best case scenario for me is where that problem or that impasse that they were at, by solving it, they might have transformed their relationship, taken it to another level. So for me, that's like the ultimate, you can say, nirvana of, of mediation, is where a relationship that was previously, where the problem was seen as the boogeyman, that it became transformed. So if you are curious about the people's history that they've shared, you are also going to be contributing towards their shared future. So, if it's a child and parent, employer, employee, principal and pupil, you have to you can't stereotype. Again, you can't genetically say, oh, all children are behaved like this, all parents are strict, and therefore we have a generic solution for that. That's something that, if I can emphasize, we're trying to avoid that. So we're trying to say each relationship, whether it's a parent and child, and you've dealt with 100 cases like that, this parent and child are unique. So be curious about the shared history, because you are contributing towards a possibly harmonious shared future. So you have a very important role in, and of course, they themselves, so we're all part of this joint problem solving. We're all going to contribute to what the quality of the shared future is going to be. Right? And of course, the outcome of mediation ultimately is, for me, it's a preservation. So even if you can't change the relationship, if it doesn't get transformed, there's no enlightenment necessarily or aha moment. You want to at least keep it in its, you want to maintain kind of maybe status quo, a good status quo, or a harmony, or some kind of equilibrium. Okay. And ultimately, like I said, you want to transform. You want people to have seen what they went through as maybe a bit of a metamorphosis in their relationship, or kind of a take me to the next level kind of thing. Okay, so transformation is also a desired outcome. Forward momentum, improvement in the quality of the relationship through whatever resolution was achieved. And again, if you are, say there's 3 people, the mediator and 2 people, disputing parties. If you are involved in the solution, you have a desire to take it forward. So that's different to, for example, a court saying you must do X, Y, and Z. You can disobey the court order and become a criminal and have a criminal case opened against you. But if you are involved in the resolution, so if the people were always involved and you, as a mediator, you were curious, you were encouraging curiosity between them, you're encouraging empathy between them, okay, that provides that momentum to say we were involved in the solution, we were involved in coming to this outcome. So now we have a momentum to take our relationship forward. And of course, as I said in my first slide, I think, another outcome is to teach people and ourselves as mediators a constructive way to view differences. So that's something that I think someone touched on, or Ken himself last night, where, that conflict or differences are not per se evil. They're opportunities. Okay, so again, if we can provide education if the outcome of the mediation process gives people a takeaway, education, that it's valid to have differences, and of course, to teach them a constructive way to handle those differences. Okay, so, and again, well, what do you want them to take away from the mediation? Okay, is it the problem or the relationship? So what's the star? Who are the stars of who's the star of the mediation? Ultimately, it should be the people. Okay, and yes, the problem did get them to the mediation process, but you want them to be the stars, not even the mediator. Okay, you were just a catalyst for change. So myself, I wouldn't want to be credited for solving people's problems. I would say, no, you guys solved it. Okay. And of course, the way you frame the things as well is important. So you frame the resolution within the context of the relationship. So you say, you know, this is taking your relationship forward, or it's helping to maintain a harmony, the harmony that you had beforehand. It's brought that back. Okay. And of course, the problem is the thing, you know, it's what led them to you. But again, you're going to frame the problem in the context of the relationship. So you're going to say, you are going to have problems. Problems are part of a relationship, whatever the relationship is. So it's not that this becomes the defining feature of your relationship. Your relationship is the thing. It is the star of this whole process. So the problem was just a little drop in, not to minimize the issue, but just a drop in the bucket compared to the quality of your relationship now and in the future. And of course, the core takeaway is how the problem took the relationship forward. Okay, and for me, this is my own quotation. I tried to look for some quotations, but they didn't quite capture it for me. So I came up with this: mediation is the people's solution by the people. And you are just a facilitator. So the people themselves should be the stars. They should be the one whose lives are improved. And of course, equipped to be able to resolve for themselves in future, so that they aren't always coming to you for to help them with their resolution. So yeah, thank you. Done.
Thank you. Thank you. But tell me, has the law mom told her babies to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to get to know when sessions will be? I mean, when I schedule them, the scheduling is going to keep happening. And the best way to get to know is to go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, click the bell icon. So you'll get a notification whenever a session is going live or a session is scheduled. So please, you should tell them.
Yeah, I'll tell them. Yeah, I will.
Because otherwise, what happens is that whenever I schedule, this LinkedIn post will be there, but how many people would see it? As that's LinkedIn's algorithm, how many people they show it to. So we should try and find a way that this communication goes out. So okay. Of course, I have my questions, which I will take in first. Then I'll take in someone who's put a question there. That we'll take it after that. So first of all, the aspect of using parties, I've given that up. I say participants.
Yeah.
Because again, coming for this terminology coming from the court system, which is again a session in the last year's conference, terminology and mediation. So let's do away with that terminology, which is coming from the court system. Parties goes out. People say opening statement, orientation. This is all coming from Jeannie. Eh? Jeannie was one of the, she was the one who I actually put that topic up. So it's come from there and I've taken that up and say, let's use that. They're all participants. Let's keep that kind of an environment, let them feel that way.
Yeah.
And of course, the theory part, I totally agree with you that whole theory thing. Look, the point is that theory only connects to the practical experiences you have. It's just someone like Ken is good at putting all that in words. It all has to be experience. It has to be practice. So now, only thing that you have to tell me is how you said teach them to be empathetic. Is that to whom? Whom do you want to teach? to be empathetic?
I think, well, I think that at least you can awaken it, because for me personally, I didn't know I was an empathetic person until recently. I I suddenly I realized that's why I do what I do on LinkedIn. That's why I have my academy. That's why I'm. Someone asked me, why are you so helpful? Why do you want to make life easier for us? And I suddenly realized that I have this superpower, which I call my superpower, one of my superpowers. So I think it can be awakened. Maybe the verb was wrong. I think it can be awakened, and you can't force people, even if they don't have it. It's dangerous to make them empathetic, because then it'll just be all cognitive, and it'll just be, we want to get this over and done with. So I think awaken empathy. Obviously, if one of the parties just cannot get to that point, then the work is cut out in a sense. But I think you can at least try to awaken. And I do think some people, or maybe not everyone, or not most people, but I do think it's worth the effort. At least try and give them a bit of a push and say, you can actually see it from the other person's point of view. I don't think empathy can be taught. I would not teach them to be empathetic so I can get out of the mediation faster. That I will not do.
No, because I think why I touched on this was because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you heard me talk about this training aspect of it,
Yeah.
and I mean, a training will talk about you should show empathy. I mean, you have to
Yes.
feel it. You have to feel it. You don't
Yeah.
show it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a theater. You don't have to do
Yeah.
drama
Not an
there and
act.
showing things. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not an act. So I think that's where this comes from for me. And from the
Mm.
mediator's perspective, that the people who have it, we have to get them into the fold. Those are the people with the mediator mindset who feel that. And we have to go beyond empathy. We go towards compassion. They
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah.
And that is what we have to bring. If you don't take them into a classroom and say, now, show, this is how you show it. So this is
Yeah.
where I think maybe these are the differences I have with people who'd say that training and we'll make mediators, then you don't make them.
No. No. I don't think you can't make a mediator any more than you can manufacture a resolution. It's got to be from the heart, and only if it's from the heart can it be, implemented or doable or practicable. You can't make an academic exercise out of it. So yeah, you can have your training, but ultimately in your heart, at your core, are you that kind of person? So
Well, the two parts of the training part. One is the aspect of someone who has it in them and
mm,
suddenly comes across some training or some content on mediation or something and then connects with
yeah,
it. And this is someone who has it already, is connecting to it. And some people feel, oh, we actually made a mediator. No, that person discovered
no,
themselves. They discovered themselves.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm okay with that. And that's why I put out this content. That someone
yeah,
who has that mindset can watch something, which is of course available for free. They watch it
yeah,
and they connect with that, because the theory part of it, like we said, Ken, when he talks about the theory, is actually someone else experiencing it as something that they have either thought about or they've already done, and this is
mm,
what they are, and they connect with that. And then they say, oh, this is something that I want to do because this is me. That's the
yeah,
connection. It's not that we will make mediators by putting this content out there. We'll only find them. We have to find them. We have to identify them and get them in.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think you can.
But
For me, I always say it was a discovery. It was the light came on. Like there's another way to do this. So I was not a fight for me to leave litigation aside. I'll always be a litigator. Always get a rush from that. It's nice to be in courts. I train my baby lawyers. I teach them. I lecture to them. All of that. But when I discovered this way of solving problems, and suddenly the light came on that it's actually about the people, it was very much instantaneous. It wasn't even like I read Ken's books and I became changed. That was all part of that discovery. And then I said, hey, I can do this. So it comes naturally. So that's how I even developed my own, you can say, mentorship, where I started to practice all of these things. I said, hey, I can do this. I've got this stuff in me. And, just holding space for people, being empathetic, no judgment, listening, active listening. And then, of course, I got results from that. So for me, it was discovery. So I was not made in a factory. I may have been made in law school because lawyering was not something that was my first passion, but I grew into it. So that you can say I was made into a lawyer. And yes, I do have the personality that fits it. But the whole mediation thing this is me. This is professionally, I'm excited about something for the first time, in the sense that you can do it for a living. Not as excited as I was to practice the law, as exciting as that is. So yeah,
but
you
yeah.
find yourself in the books maybe, or in the videos, and you say, I have it.
Well, I think the fact is what being made in a factory. Actually, what in that evolution of a mediator series, I have you heard me? I'm saying going to keep repeating it. That the idea was let's go into the person's growing up, childhood.
Yeah,
Not even that. Let's go beyond that. Let's look at their grandparents growing up. Let's look at
yeah,
their parents growing up. What value systems did they pick up? And I was talking about the aspect of when we talk about the intergenerational trauma. What about intergenerational spirituality
yeah,
and value
yeah,
systems that
yeah,
you can get? Let's look at the
yeah.
positive part of it, the good part. So that also comes in. So that all that
Yes.
you as the person that you are is based on all that you grew up with. And of course, your
Hmm.
the experiences and your circumstances and everything makes you who you are. And that evolution is going to continue, but
Yes.
there is a seed somewhere which was there based on, we don't know. I mean, like I said, these are things which someone will have to maybe do research on if they can. And my evolution of a
Yeah.
mediator series was, let's get some out there, let's see what are the commonalities there, let's put it out
Yeah.
there, that where
Yeah.
does it all come from. It's not about them being made in a factory, that's for sure, that
No.
no, it's not happening. But all these aspects of their life, is there some, maybe some commonalities come in, or their thought process, something comes out from that. That's what the series was. So that's why I want
Yeah.
people to actually watch that, to learn. I mean, just not learn, just go through what, in a way, what Ken went through. Think of it that way. What did he go
Yeah.
through? What did he, when he was growing up, what was the situation there?
Mm.
Him selling eggs and chicken. That's what he did when he was a kid, and how he bought the Encyclopedia Britannica with the money he earned. I mean, those kinds of things, the idea of
Yeah.
picking up knowledge and all, could be anything. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not putting it down to simple specific things. Just in general, let's look at
Yeah.
that. That was the whole idea behind that series, and that,
Yeah.
obviously the series continues. So that,
Yeah.
but the aspect of conflict that you spoke about, when I say dispute, look, for me, the thing is right now, let's work on a quantifiable thing. You have a dispute,
Mm.
this got resolved, and there is
Mm.
something that you was wanted and you got, whatever. I mean, however, I'm putting
Mm.
it in simplistic words. But
Yeah.
conflict is something which there are conflicts which should exist. There's some conflicts
Yeah.
I cannot resolve and don't like to resolve.
Yeah.
Conflicts on value systems.
Yeah.
If there is someone's value system I do
Yeah.
not agree with, I'm not going to resolve it. I'm not,
Yeah.
and I'm not out there to. I'm not like I keep telling people, I'm not a spiritual guru to create. I sit with that person and tell, like, white supremacist. I mean, there was some particular person who was part of my show events, and also suddenly I saw that aspect of the person. I'm not going. What am I going to sit and resolve?
Yeah.
You're a white supremacist, don't be one. What else can I do? It's not
Yeah.
acceptable. It's just not acceptable. I
Mm.
can't say let's resolve it. 3 days of the week you can be one, 4 days a week you can't be one. It's a thought process.
Yeah.
These conflicts of things. So that's why I'm saying resolution of a conflict, there are lots of factors to it, but dispute people will
Mm.
understand. And once they resolve a dispute and they sit together and resolve it, they will take so
Mm.
much from it that they can resolve conflicts. They can maybe look at that. They'll take very good things from it. They'll, if they can actually go through the process the way you are taking them through, the people, the
Mm.
aspect of the people being what is the focus of it, which of course you are now going to distinguish between the process where people are not the focus of it. It's good, it's important to put that up, because I say that mediation is a word which is like the blind man and the elephant situation. Everyone's experiencing it differently. They're using a
Yes.
word, common word for something also, but actually, is that really a mediation happening where people are not the focus, not the center of it? Is it really, should we really call that mediation, or we just call them settlement conferences? So we have to be sure as to what we need to put out there as mediation. Let me put up what I have put on my website. I should show you that, because this World Mediation Circle, because look, these are simple. You're never going to read anything there. So I have to take you through whatever I can. It's not happening, I know. So this was my idea. Why? I'm creating mediation circles to bring a moral values, not value, principles and ethics based humanistic approach to dispute resolution, where heart, soul, spirituality play an important role. They will help people, and this is what you were saying, resolving this issue in an amicable and collaborative manner and attempt to heal and strengthen relationship. So that's the kind of mediation that we are talking about. And there will definitely be another side of it where, and I'm not saying that's wrong, that comes from the basic, of course, inefficiencies of the judicial system, that people don't want to go through it and they want to settle because of that reason, that whole system is inefficient, it's costly, it takes time, so let's settle. And that's not for me the right reason to go. I mean, let's not call that mediation. I really feel that it's in a way disrespecting the word mediation. I mean, disrespecting the process. Let's not say the word, the process. So, so now what we have to do is we have to pick up one question that I saw. Let me see if there's any other question, but one question from Sonam Datta Mehta has come. How do we generate curiosity among parties? If you could illustrate, madam.
I think the universal question is to, and I think because mediate or being a peacemaker should be a lifestyle, it's something that you should be doing where you'd say, okay, I'm disagreeing with my spouse on a topic. Why? Why does he feel that way? So without being patronizing, without being sarcastic, you can say, if you feel, whatever the disputes, whatever the issue is, why do you feel, I want to know, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel so strongly about it? And of course, that will unravel a whole lot of needs, interests, values, attitudes. So it's just as simple as asking why. Because for me, even for myself, if I'm holding a specific strong position and I can see that someone is not taking to what I'm saying, so I have to even ask myself, why do you hold to that? So why do you believe that? Why is it so important that it must be done this way and not that way? And I think from there you can unravel. Just asking, like a 5-year-old, right? Why? Why? They have that why stage is, I think we lose that as adults. And I think for harmony in our relationships, we must be able to ask ourselves why, in a dispute even, and you are off in a corner sulking, you say, but why am I so stubborn? Instead of saying, why is he so stubborn? You say, why am I so stubborn? At least be curious about yourself first. And then when you practice that, then when you are involved with parties or disputants, whatever you want to call them, then you are like, you encourage them, why do you think your husband feels that way? Why do you think he wants you not to be home, not to be out be home by 10 o'clock, 10 p.m.? And then of course it can be revealed that he just wants you to be safe. You're like, oh, but you got so angry. He's like, no, I'm angry because I'm scared something will happen to you. So as you ask why, you go behind, and you discover that one angry outburst might have just been out of because he wanted you to be safe. So again, it's encouraging. So you say, why do you think? Or ask him, or maybe not making them like puppets, but can you think of why he would have reacted in that way? Not that we're blaming anyone or we're excusing the behavior, but why do you think he might have acted? And of course, the more often that happens in the process, then it can also invite the other party to open up and say, yes, that's right, or no, that's wrong. This is why I did it. So I think it's just as simple as encouraging people to, without any agenda, to just be curious, to just ask why, because you want to find what's behind the behavior, what's behind it, in order to get to your solution. So that's my answer.
Good. There is Maya there who's been commenting while what you must have been saying. But only what happens is with LinkedIn is that there is sometimes a delay. So she
Delay, yeah.
she might have been commenting on a certain thing, but she's a number of places she said yes, yes. Then somewhere she said you need to have life experience from the ground. Now, but I don't know what that yes was. What was she agreeing to? And I'm going to think she
Yeah,
was agreeing to what I was saying. So let me.
yeah.
And it takes human experience, evolution. It comes from within. Oh, so this is based on what I was talking about, the
Yeah,
evolution.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that I do. Of course, I had sent her a message if she wants to join. So if she that part she's welcome to. So this is what, of course, in terms of the people part of it. Anything else that you want to close on? Anything else that you feel you want to put out there, please?
Uh, yeah, I think as you know, I won't say aspiring. I'll say I am a mediator. Because I won't be trained in a factory. I think for me, and that's why I even like this whole reflective practice thing, because I think you can get stuck in a rut when you are, especially if you're doing it as a day job, and can become very generic. And so I think to be a people-centered, or keep people at the center of the mediation process, is also to focus on your own growth. How are you growing as a mediator? Because you say it's a lifestyle. So how are you growing? How are you evolving as a mediator? How are you being challenged? How are you being inspired? You know, so we can say, okay, we have the skill set, we have empathy, we have this, we have that. So we kind of settle down. But I think the mediator is also a person in the process, and we need to focus on ourselves and our own growth, and especially how are we growing through the people that we are helping. So how are people's problems basically growing us? So how is taking them through their process actually taking us forward? So I think we must pay attention to ourselves as the mediators, because ultimately, whether it's 10 people in the mediation or 3 people, we are all 3 people going through life, and we all have common life experiences: death, birth, sickness, success, failure. So we need to also, as much as we are helping to take another relationship forward, we also must focus on how we are growing. We must also put ourselves, we are the other, we are part of the people. So we must also keep ourselves at the center of the process and saying, how are we growing? How are we getting better? How are we getting worse? How are we becoming stereotypical? So you've got to do that reflective practice thing. And, you know, instead of focusing on just the parties and sorting them out, if you are devolving as a mediator, if you're becoming stagnant, then that's going to affect the outcome or the quality of the resolution that you facilitate. So I think we need to keep ourselves, that remind ourselves that we're also people, and we're also the same. We're not better. Maybe we're worse than the people that are there. I don't know, but we're not better than them. So if we focus on ourselves as well in the process, then I think everybody walks away with something positive.
But one thing that I've noticed, I think LinkedIn sometimes I think does have a problem even playing these sessions, the live thing. So that's why what
Yeah,
I've done is I've put the YouTube link also. Because sometimes it breaks. Noticed that. Sometimes it breaks
but it
that.
goes backward. Yesterday I watched a bit at the beginning from LinkedIn, and it tends to rewind. So
Yeah.
the video went backward, and we heard something again. So
So that's why I'm saying
yeah,
that this YouTube thing is important because at least you can go and watch it there, and it's
mm,
actually live. Like I said, there is a delay here, so someone might be putting a question and it's going to come in later. But important thing is Sonam is saying got it, so that's done.
okay, good.
But I think the important thing also has to be put out there. It's like, look, compassion, empathy, everything is okay, but there is a skill to actually help in the resolution.
Yeah,
That's a skill by itself, which
yeah,
goes beyond all this.
mm,
Again, I'll go back to my World Mediation Circle. I've tried to divide people in the manner of who help people resolve disputes into mediators and peacemakers, because
mm,
for me, I think sometimes what happens is both of them get merged. But
mm,
for me, the difference is, I mean, everyone will have their way of looking at it, is that the peacemakers have the skill to bring people together, to
yeah,
actually tell them that they should resolve the dispute amicably, collaboratively, whatever, all that. And
yeah,
the mediators have that skill to actually assist in the process. So I think this
yes,
difference I've tried to put out there. And again, back to, if I have to go back to my website, I want people to read from there, because this World Mediation Circle is going to be important for me. That is
mm,
important for me. So this aspect I really put out because I put this out here. So you can join as a mediator or as a peacemaker. Both of them are different
mm,
aspects, and both the skills are required. Everyone
yes,
doesn't have the skill to get people to sit together to resolve things.
no,
It's a,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a lot. There's a lot that goes into that. So that, and then of course the participant. And in terms of participant, let me tell you, for me, it's not, when I say participant, not just the people who have the dispute.
yeah,
If an expert is coming in, for when I say
yes,
expert in law, the lawyer should come in only when it's required in that sense. But those experts, they're all participants. They have to feel that they're all working together to resolve it. This, like this
yes,
party system really makes it into, okay, we are still in some way on opposite sides and we're trying to maybe justify things and all that. No,
yeah,
we're all working together. So that's where the
yeah,
participant comes in. The other thing that I have to put up is what's happening tomorrow. Can I just put that up?
mm,
This is what's happening. Shari is talking about clarity, compassion, and curiosity. Or curiosity is here. How to get comfortable with conflict, right? So, like I said, we won't have too many sessions. In a way, I'm happy also. I don't have too many back-to-back sessions. I've done in some event I did, I think it was 5 hours. 5 hours
ooh,
non-stop, not getting up, all the time on the screen. And I keep saying that I actually got a blood clot. And I was
whoa,
a little
okay,
worried at that time, but then I read and it's okay. 3 days, it goes away. But I said, so in a way, it's good. We won't have too many
yeah,
sessions. It'll be a relaxed conversation like what we are having. All of them are that relaxed. It's just that I would not have to cut it fast. It's, oh, now the next session is starting. So,
yeah,
so I just put up Sherry's thing. Now LinkedIn is showing that, the Sherry thing. So it's that much of a delay. So I think that in a way, I think there's lots to talk about here. And this is another, of course, I mean, not another perspective. That's what mediation is for us. That's what it is. But it's
mm,
important to put it out there. And all the babies of yours should know that, yes, that's the way you are looking at mediation, because they will
yeah,
come across situations. Maybe some of them will practice in courts and will be sent into certain mediation, and they will look at it maybe, and then they say, oh, this is not what Lisa is talking about. Here it
yeah,
seems to be a totally different process happening. Reconciling the two in their mind might be difficult, but we have to tell them that that is not mediation. Let me say it. That's not mediation. That's a settlement conference, and courts is a problem. What they are doing to mediation is an issue. It's
mm,
actually demeaning mediation, disrespecting mediators because we don't want to value them. We are telling
yeah,
the world that mediators don't have to be paid anything. Oh, they're just going to do it for free, kind of thing. So we're doing that. And what for future are we going to? Lisa, you have to tell us that. What future are we showing them for mediation in South Africa or wherever? How do
yeah,
they look at it? Because if they look at mediation happening in the court system,
yeah,
definitely it's an issue for them to look at. Are they seeing a future there? So how do you look at that?
yeah. Well, I'll be honest. You were the one that opened my eyes to the, what can I say, dilution or contamination. Because I honestly was excited that it was at least the courts were taking notice of that thing, that, I mean, this mechanism, because here it's not taught. So you go to university, it's at the back of the court procedure textbook. Okay, it's like relegated. So I would definitely, I think, now that I'm back on the bandwagon, as I say, I'd be differentiating between the two, because we definitely have them at, so we have magistrate courts, which is lower court, and then we have superior court, which is high court, and then Supreme Court of Appeal, and then Constitutional Court. So we do have the court annexed or court compelled mediation at lower court and high court level. So I will definitely be making that distinction between, it's not the same. And of course, breaking this whole mindset that you have to be a lawyer to be a good mediator. That, I think, is a worldwide problem. Like, in fact, the lawyer needs to eat some humble pie and chill a bit and learn from mediator. So it's also, this might be a class distinction, that mediators are kind of not so qualified, and that's why also lawyers don't take to it here, because they say you're not going to earn as much fees. And we're saying yes, but imagine solving all the problems, the turnover rate to solve the problems. Would you rather have a matter sitting in court for 5 years, or have 5 matters being resolved in 1 week in your office? Wouldn't that be a better advertisement? And wouldn't you make money like that? So that's what we are fighting up against. Just to pitch it as a standalone thing is something that we are still very far away from, in my opinion. We have to sort of introduce it like how you introduce food to a baby, bite size, to say, okay, have your law practice, but have in-house mediators, have in-house people that where you can offer that as part of your firm, where you can refer them to the mediator in your firm. And if that doesn't work, then you can still do your litigation. So I foresee it being introduced like that hybrid practice, where you have the mediator and the litigator sitting in the same office. But again, there's going to be a lot of trumpeting, at least from my end, writing, and just putting it out there that what we have now is not true mediation. It's actually, like you're saying, settlement conference or pre-trial conference. And inevitably, there are lawyers that are involved. And with mediation, you don't need to have a lawyer present, unless it's, like you said, specialized matter. So yeah, it's a lot of hard digging. Yeah, we're still digging the trenches, I would say. But I'm definitely,
Yeah. No, that's why this
yeah.
discussion that I had on that colonization aspect of it, that this
Mm,
entire mindset that has been created, that dispute resolution happens in courts and lawyers have to
mm,
be involved in it. You have a
mm,
dispute, let's call a lawyer. That part of it has to go, and that's the only way things will change, because
yes.
in other parts of the world where people say it's actually developed, the practice is not developed. It is still in the court system only. That hasn't gone beyond that. It
Mm,
is not really on the ground. I have a issue, we have a dispute, let's call a mediator. It's not happening, and that is what I want to create, that this is
mm.
something where lawyers are not required. It's not, don't have to go to them at all, and keep them far away as much as you can. Bring them in if there is something that you need to, on a legal aspect of it, you want to clarify or understand, you can bring them
Yeah.
in. But because what's really happened is that in the US, lawyers have taken control of mediation, and that
Mm,
is why mediation, if the word has to go around, it has, good word has to go around. Good word is
mm.
not going around because they've created this environment. It is settlement conferences. That's what they've done. Look,
Yeah.
exceptions will be there. We're not going to talk about exceptions. There are good people like Michael Lang. He was a practicing lawyer, and he, of course, went into mediation, and he has an issue with that. What really goes on, that whole
Yeah.
transactional thing. It should
Yeah.
be a transformational thing, what you're talking about,
Yeah.
relationships and everything, but it's a
Yeah.
transactional thing. He has an issue with that. So it is a problem there, and let people understand that, don't look at any other world, because it's not happening, because that foundation is very weak. You can't
Mm,
go through mediation and force people into mediation and talk about it in the court system, because it's
yeah.
already always going to be connected with that. Of course, free part of it is even worse. So that's why we have to go disconnect it from that, and tell
mm,
these people, go out. When I'm saying in terms of money, why will not they not be able to charge as much? They should charge much more. If the people have to
yeah,
understand this person can actually help me resolve something and there's a finality to it, why would they not pay? But if the mediators themselves start with this whole thing that, oh, the mediators are not getting anything in the court, and that becomes a reference point for fees, it's a big
mm,
issue. And once you
yeah,
connect that for two mediators and mediation, you're demeaning
mm,
mediation. And that's what's really
yeah,
happening. So you will be able
yeah,
to charge, and all your babies should go out and tell everyone, you have a dispute, let's try and mediate. I'm there. We'll go to Lisa. She's available. Let's just go. There's so many disputes out there. Let's just get that activity going. And there's so much work and that can be done. So I know
mm.
we've taken longer than you would have expected it to go, but that happens with me. So at every point of time, you have to tell me, thank you very much. I'm done. I can't go on any longer. So you don't have to be polite with me. Yeah, we have to have a signal. So, so thank you, Lisa. Let me also tell people that your next session is on the 26th, which is
Yeah,
redefining mediation spaces.
yeah,
Right. Thank you very
okay.
much, Lisa. Wonderful talking to
Thank
you.
you.
And
Thank you.
see you on the
Likewise.
26th. And the other sessions also, you can drop in. I'll link to the schedule you have. So
Yeah,
just drop into any of the schedule, any of those discussions. All panelists are invited for all sessions. So please just
yeah,
join.
okay,
All right. See
okay.
you.
Bye.